Something strange is happening in South Korea. The country, famous for its K-pop, luxury skincare, and Samsung smartphones, is now facing a slow collapse. People aren't having babies, young adults are losing hope, and the government can't fix it. Is it burnout? Is it culture? Or is it something deeper? What we found might shock you. But to understand the depth of this crisis, we begin with the most alarming sign of all: its demographic collapse. South Korea is facing a demographic crisis that's unlike anything we've seen before. Right now, the country has around 51.6 million people, but by the year 2070, that number is projected to drop from 52 million today to 34 million. That's a 35% decrease in less than 50 years. The reason for the crisis is the world's lowest birth rate. In 2024, the fertility rate stands at 0.75, well below the 2.1, which is the number needed to maintain a stable population. In Seoul, the rate is even lower, just 0.55. From 600,000 to 700,000 births a year in the 1990s, the number fell to just 240,000 in 2024. That same year, more people died than were born, by about 120,000. If things stayed the same, 100 South Koreans today will shrink to just 5 people in 4 generations, and you can already see it happening. For every 1-year-old in South Korea, there are 4 50-year-olds. Schools are closing, toy stores are disappearing. In some towns, you won't hear a single child playing outside. By 2060, the UN's most accurate projection says the country will lose 16 million people. That's nearly 30% of its current population. South Korea will also become the oldest country in human history, with half the population over the age of 65. Less than 10% will be under 25, and just 1% will be small children. This shift doesn't just affect families, it shakes the entire economy. A shrinking, aging population means fewer workers and more seniors relying on pensions. Already in 2023, 40% of seniors lived below the poverty line. In 2060, that could look like the good old days. Even the military will struggle. South Korea still has mandatory service, but with far fewer young men, how will it maintain defense readiness? It's a cycle that speeds up the decline. Right now, for every 100 people of working age, about 30 seniors rely on them. But by 2125, that could jump to 140 seniors for every 100 working adults. The country is running out of time, and we're not seeing signs of recovery. In fact, between 2022 and 2023, the fertility rate dropped another 8%. And with fewer people being born, the economy is already starting to feel the pressure. South Korea's economy looks strong on the surface, with a GDP of around $1.7 trillion and leading global brands like Samsung and Hyundai. But underneath, the country is heading toward a major economic slowdown. One of the biggest problems is household debt. South Koreans carry one of the highest levels of personal debt in the world. Household debt now exceeds 105% of the country's GDP, according to the Bank of Korea. Young Koreans aged 19 to 39 have debt-to-income ratios of 300%. That's 3 times their annual income. That means people are borrowing more than the economy produces in an entire year just to keep up with living expenses. At the same time, youth unemployment remains stubbornly high. The official number is about 7.2%, but that doesn't reflect the real picture. Many young people are stuck in temporary or part-time jobs, and underemployment is closer to 20%. The only way to climb the ladder? Get into a chaebol, big companies like Samsung or Hyundai. But less than 25% of workers land those jobs. South Korea's economy is also deeply tied to its aging population. Today, about 37 million people are of working age, but by 2060, that number could fall to just 17 million. With fewer workers, economic output will naturally shrink and tax revenue will drop. But pensions and elderly care will skyrocket. The National Pension Fund, currently valued at about $730 billion, is expected to stop growing in the 2040s and run dry by the 2050s. When that happens, pensions will have to be paid directly from workers' taxes, but there simply won't be enough workers to keep up. Another issue is the power of chaebols, South Korea's giant family-run conglomerates. They dominate the market and make it hard for small businesses and startups to grow. Their control has created inequality and limited innovation. If this continues, economic stagnation will turn into a long-term decline. But economic stress is only part of the story. South Korea is also facing a deep mental health crisis. According to the OECD, in 2023, South Korea had the highest suicide rate among developed countries, with 24.1 suicides per 100,000 people. Plus, during the national survey, over 73% of Koreans reported struggling with a mental health issue. That's a massive jump from 63.8% in 2022, showing just how fast this crisis is escalating. One of the biggest factors in this is academic and career pressure. South Korean students face some of the longest study hours in the world, all to pass one exam, the Sunyeong. This college entrance test can determine their entire future. As a result, about 1 in 3 South Korean teens say they've experienced suicidal thoughts, based on surveys from the Ministry of Education. The pressure doesn't stop after school. In the workplace, the grind is relentless. While the legal work week is capped at 52 hours, many Koreans work unpaid overtime, pushing their physical and mental limits. A 2021 Gallup Korea survey revealed that nearly 70% of workers reported high levels of stress from job insecurity, long hours, and toxic office culture. The elderly are also suffering. Nearly half of South Koreans over 65 live in poverty, and many feel socially isolated. A 2020 study by the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs showed that over 30% of seniors live alone and report having no one to talk to regularly. This isolation is closely linked to rising suicide rates among the elderly. Despite all this, South Korea spends just 3% of its health budget on mental health care, half of what most developed countries invest. And because of social stigma, many people avoid getting help. Psychiatric issues or visiting a therapist are often kept secret. There have been government attempts to address this, such as suicide prevention hotlines and awareness campaigns. But experts say these are surface-level fixes. Real change would require improving work-life balance, investing in accessible mental health care, and reshaping societal expectations about success. Unless these structural issues are addressed, South Korea's mental health crisis will only deepen and is bound to grow worse. And it's no surprise many young South Koreans are now packing their bags. For good. More young South Koreans are considering emigration than ever before. According to a 2023 government survey, nearly 25% of people in their 20s and 30s said they want to leave the country permanently. That's 1 in 4 young adults saying they don't see a future at home. Why? The reasons are painfully clear. High housing prices, long working hours, toxic competition, and limited job security have made life in South Korea extremely tough. In Seoul, where the fertility rate is just 0.55, many young people feel stuck, too broke to start a family, too tired to dream. Even students are choosing not to return. South Korea sends tens of thousands of students abroad every year, but now a growing number are settling overseas instead of coming back. This brain drain is real. The country's investment in education ends up benefiting foreign economies. This mass exit is a national crisis. Fewer young people mean fewer taxpayers, fewer entrepreneurs, and fewer future families. It also means rural areas are vanishing. Over 1,300 towns and villages have been labeled as population dead zones, where births no longer happen. Meanwhile, those who remain often concentrate in big cities, making rural areas ghost towns. These patterns mirror what's already happened in parts of Japan, where millions of homes sit empty. But beyond the numbers, there's a deeper issue tearing South Korea apart: its cultural identity. South Korea isn't just facing a demographic or economic crisis, the country is divided, and this growing tension is creating deep rifts in how South Koreans see their future. At the heart of it is a cultural divide that's growing wider with every generation. One side clings to conservative Confucian values, male-dominated households, strict hierarchies, and relentless work ethics. The other side, mostly younger Koreans, is pushing for modern reforms, gender equality, better work-life balance, and more personal freedom. This cultural clash has bled into politics. In 2022, Yoon Suk-yeol was elected president after campaigning against feminism. He claimed gender equality had already been achieved and promised to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, a move that sparked major backlash among women. His win revealed deep gender divisions. Exit polls showed that 58% of men in their 20s supported Yoon, while only 34% of women in the same age group did. Online spaces have only made it worse. Platforms like DC Inside and Ilby Storehouse are breeding grounds for extreme misogyny, while feminist forums face constant trolling. Even celebrities aren't safe. Actress Kim Ji-soo faced boycotts for endorsing gender equality in a school textbook. On the streets, this divide plays out in protests. Feminist groups demand stronger protections against sexual harassment and discrimination. At the same time, anti-feminist groups argue that women receive unfair advantages in education and hiring. These public clashes show how fractured the country has become. And this affects policy making. While one side pushes for family-friendly reforms, the other resists. Political gridlock is common, and public trust in institutions is falling. According to a 2023 OECD report, only 34% of South Koreans trust their government, one of the lowest rates among developed nations. Meanwhile, the youth, frustrated with the poor economy and rigid social rules, are checking out altogether. Some join the 4B movement, others emigrate or simply disengage from society. Without urgent change, South Korea may not just lose people, it could lose the very culture that made it world famous. This isn't the South Korea we knew from glossy K-dramas or tech headlines. This is something far more serious. And no one's talking about it. But they should. If South Korea can't turn this around, its future may vanish. Subscribe for more such untold global stories that matter.